11th
Yes.
at 7:30 PM. We're having a public hearing this evening. We'll start off with a roll call. Chairman Morris, Commissioner Baloo,
Present.
Commissioner Cotton, Commissioner Hesner,
Here.
Commissioner Heidner, Commissioner Mulcrone,
Here.
Commissioner Grog. We have a quorum. Currently, our chairperson and secretary are both unable to attend this evening, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to nominate a chairperson.
Second.
Well, we can do that by a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so tonight we have a public hearing regarding case 18-06. It's a petition filed by Jeff Fougeroux, Vernon Hills Park District, 635 North Aspen Drive, Vernon Hills, requesting pursuant to Appendix C of the Village of Vernon Hills Code of Ordinance, Articles 14B and 21, Section 21.7, approval to amend the zoning classification from B1 General Business to COS Conservation of Open Space. Do we have anybody that is going to speak of the petitioner? Mr. Fougeroux.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem. Congratulations on that honor this evening.
Thank you.
So Jeff Fougeroux, Executive Director of the Vernon Hills Park District. I'm going to step aside and let Dan Dalziel from 3D Design is our landscape architect overseeing the project, and Don Dixon, who's our civil with Gaywald Hamilton. Both of these gentlemen will walk you through our petition here this evening before the commission, and certainly we're here to answer any questions you might have. But thank you for the invitation tonight on behalf of the Park District.
Before we get too far along, do we have all the people that are going to speak tonight on behalf of the petition?
Yes.
Please come up
Yes,
to the
they're both here.
podium. Please raise your right hand. Do you plan on telling the truth?
I do. Yes.
Thank you. It's your show.
All right, terrific. Well, this is Don Dixon. I'm Dan Dalziel, 3D Design Studio. If I may, I'd like to pass these out, and then I'm going to run you through what we're doing at the site and some of the amenities that will be going in. So,
Dan, I'm going to give you that. It's probably easier
Okay.
if you're mobile.
most of you are familiar with the old OPA site, which is the Century Park South expansion project. Don has a image up here. This is the existing conditions as of today. And as you can see, one of the nice things about this, we're expanding the green space by removing about 65–70% of the existing parking lot. We're going to strip off that existing asphalt, and then we'll be reclaiming and reusing all of the 80%, 85% of the stone that is underneath the asphalt surface, and reusing that in the construction of the new trails and paths, as well as raising the existing parking lot. So we're refinishing this entire new parking lot. We're raising that approximately 8 to 9 inches.
Correct.
And then we're introducing a small bathroom building, which I'll get to in a second in the handout. New walking trails throughout, connecting to the bridge, leading from the parking lot over. This light green area here is a reinforced turf system that is designed for heavy loads that will allow trucks to back in and place the stage for Ribfest and other venues. And then we're connecting the existing plaza with this main walk through here. We're relocating the existing pedestrian light fixtures along this new pathway. We're providing handhold power boxes for future events like art fair or taste or other kinds of venues that can be held in this large new open green space. There'll be benches along that walk, as well as by the building itself. Then at the front entry here, we're going to have a monument sign in the genre of all the other Park District signs. That's in our handout, as well as a circular plaza and a new 35-foot flagpole. So if you go to the second page in your handout, this is a prefabricated bathroom building. So the beauty of this whole thing, we're going to build a foundation out there, the contractor will. The Park District is purchasing this, and all they have to do is come out, have a crane, get the utilities in the right spot, pick it up, set it in place. I think it comes complete with soap dispenser and mirror and everything. So you just set it down and it's all good. On the third page, you'll see the wall material that the central planter will be made out of, as well as the sign that's going inside the center planter. The light fixtures are the same as that we've been using, relocating most of them. And there's the flagpole. So, do you have anything you would like to add as far as from a civil engineering standpoint? Like how the power is going to work?
Well, again, I'm Don Dixon with Gaywald Hamilton Associates, and since this was an existing building site, all of the utilities that we'll need are already out on the site. We'll be making connections to the existing water system, putting a hydrant in at the edge of the parking lot. They're not really shown on the plan you have here, but they are indicated on our utility plan. We'll have sanitary sewer service from the restrooms into the existing sewer lines on site. As Dan mentioned, we're coordinating with the electric to service the site lighting and any of the needs they'll have over at the new arena area or stage area. As far as stormwater management goes, we have an existing large detention facility, which is the lake out here. We are reducing the amount of impervious area. We're actually going down from 1.87 acres of hard surface down to 1.04. So it's a net reduction in hard surface area. Therefore, we don't need any stormwater detention. We're implementing some best practices as far as filter strip management and whatnot to make sure that we're keeping the water clean before it gets to the basins or into the lake. As Dan mentioned, we're going about this project trying to minimize the export or reduce the export from the site as much as possible to keep the costs down, avoid putting more material into landfills, and also utilizing as much of the existing materials on site for paths and whatnot as we can.
The contractor will be doing all the site landscape restoration, and then the Park District is coming in after, and the timing should work out beautifully in the fall, and planting trees in a planting plan we had developed for the district. So it's going to be a fabulous new park.
I think it's a great change for that corner, and it's going to look very nice. So I think it's great.
Just a question. The service walk facing Lakeview Parkway, did you guys consider flipping that to the backside so that's not visible from the road, so you can landscape the side of the structure better? The bathroom structure?
Wait, flipping that how?
The service walk that wraps around the building?
Oh,
If you flipped it to the other side, you could landscape the front facing Lakeview Parkway better.
I think part of the intent here was on having that sidewalk and the bench over on that side was to focus toward that central flagpole area and turnaround that is over there. I guess one of the other things that we've looked at in doing this is we have some existing easements which run back directly behind that building for the existing utilities which are in place. So we're trying to minimize any of the hard surface improvements that go over there in case something needs to be repaired in the future. If a utility company goes in, makes a repair, then we'd have to replace that, so.
Yeah, that northwest corner of the building sits right at the water line easement. It's a good idea, I like your idea, but again, we had the bench on the southeast side looking out towards more of the activity, and
So is that a service area around it, or is it just a,
Service walk.
there's a door in the back to the mechanical, so we needed to access that.
So Dan,
oh, I see, yeah.
Dan, how does putting the sidewalk around the northwest side of it change anything? You would eliminate the sidewalk on the
Yeah.
southeast
Yeah,
side.
that-
So it would be
actually
the
don't have-
same amount of sidewalk,
Yeah,
correct?
no, I don't have any strong preference either way. It was the easement that we were trying to not put any,
But if it's the same footprint, it wouldn't go over the easement. Is that what you're saying too?
Well, the building would move.
oh,
building
slide
would
the
move.
building, flip the, okay.
Yeah, if you just were to take it and pick it up and turn it, the building would move a little bit, but the footprint that it's in could remain the same.
Sure,
You just-
okay, I like
Yeah,
that
I was just
idea.
thinking of landscaping that
If
corner a
you,
little
if you
better.
were just cut the whole thing and flip it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, we can do that. I like that idea.
That would even give better access, because you'd have a pathway there if you need to get access on the northwest.
Sure.
And then, how does everybody feel about the colors?
Bathroom.
I know, but just, it looks a little dated to me.
Do they have color options?
Yes, I'm sure we have color options.
Prefer green?
I don't know, just,
I don't have an opinion on the color of the building.
I know,
Yeah, it
it's a
was
small little building.
Some
I
earth
guess.
tony,
What, I mean,
could be
what
a
are the
little
other-
lighter color.
What are the other structures in Century Park? Are they all brown as well? Yeah.
Tan and brown. We thought originally, Jeff, about maybe trying to.
Oh, you need to talk in a microphone.
We thought originally about trying to do something that would mirror Rust-Oleum's facade.
Well,
So as you're coming down Hawthorne Parkway, you know, that was when we met with Rust-Oleum.
Yeah.
It was a preference because they didn't want a bathroom right outside. And originally, we had a basketball court next to the bathroom, and they were completely opposed to that. We're trying to be sensitive and be neighborly, and quite frankly, 90% of our current basketball court gets used by their employees. So that's why we put it back in. We just moved it. Their CEO was not interested in seeing that advance, so we pulled it out of the project. So in terms of the colors, that is typically what we're looking at that's kind of synonymous with the rest of our structures in our parks. But once it comes to the site, if we feel like it's something we want, we can have our parks guys paint it, you know?
Let
It's a-
Rust-Oleum give it some paint.
yeah, they'd probably loan us some paint. But we did an original facade, Dan did, we had him draw up a rendering with the red
Yep.
and the gray, and it just didn't look good. It looked very institutionalized
Well,
to us,
it's-
the gray.
It would stand out more, too. It
Yeah.
would be more noticeable if
Yeah.
it looked like that building, I think.
And so I think one of the things we wanted to do, Mark, on that note was design something that shows it's a park. And originally, we were going to do some kind of, you know, rustic fence that separated our property, so people knew when they were leaving Rust-Oleum's property, coming into the park, that you knew you were entering a park. And so that's that. And that's a big-ticket item. I know, you know, Commissioner Baloo and I have had some conversation on this because it's probably 20 to 25% of our budget, that bathroom. And we've had conversations with the village board prior to this. It was something that they were interested in seeing us do. So we'll see. We got a week from today with a bid opening, and we'll see what numbers come in, and we may have to come back to you and dumb that down a little bit, depending on the price, or if we're within budget, we'll continue with it.
Honestly, I was a little bit surprised that there was even a toilet facility associated with the project.
Yeah, I was, too.
I was just a little bit surprised.
Yeah, and I think that came, Scott, from the village board when we had the initial IGA with them, when we both acquired the property. They wanted a minimum of 35 parking stalls. We've accommodated that. They were I would say they were pretty insistent on having some kind of a restroom facility there other than porta-johns. So that's why we put it in, in the project scope. We get a lot of use, on a given day, on a nice day, you could drive by Century Park right now, and I'll bet you there's 200 or 300 people walking around that park.
Oh.
And there's no restroom on that far,
Yeah.
south end, and so people would use it, in addition to the events that we have, planned out there as well.
Is the white triangular piece adjacent to the park, is that Rust-Oleum property up here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of sticks down in yours? Okay.
Yeah.
And what is that serpentine wall near the sign circle?
It's
Grade
the
difference?
same Bel Air wall material. It's going to provide that to slope up a little bit, so there'll be seating for people when the functions place out.
To watch the fireworks.
Exactly.
And I was just, I was wondering, it's a little bit different from the one that we had submitted to us prior. So when you're planning like the big tent for summer celebration, how is that gonna fit in there? And there's gonna be no sidewalk that ties into the main sidewalk. So you're just gonna, you're promoting a large lawn area to the south of the big tent? Is that what you're thinking?
That's correct, Scott. And we had brought the original site plan that maybe you saw that differs to the park board with some input, and they came back with, let's do a path kind of right down the center of the site so that we could have separation. Right now, the way that path is, it comes off of what we call the main kind of hub with, you see that kind of octagon shape area, and it comes off and hugs the lake a little bit. And the beauty of this path coming straight, there's enough equal side for people to sit, and we're running power. We're now, if you go to an event, Ribfest Summer Celebration, they're running exterior power that has the cover plates up to the stage. What we're proposing in our scope is all the power is going to be buried and run up to right in front of the stage, so there's no trip hazards, and it makes it easier for people carrying strollers or setting up, just their chairs, et cetera. So
Becomes a nice central aisleway that people right and left.
go either
side.
way.
And that's the smaller rectangle, the small darker green rectangle, that's where the stage would be
Correct.
set up?
Correct.
I think the other, to add to that too, Scott, is you're coming off the bridge, if you're heading towards Lakeview Parkway, now there's such a the slope is completely off base in terms of just ADA, accommodations. And so we were able to extend that path a little bit. So if you're on a bike per se, you're going to have a little bit better chance of meeting that 5% or under, required slope. So that's why we extended that. So the stage area that you just spoke of is a Grass Creek product that Dan was talking about. So the subsurface is a little bit different than what you're used to. Again, that was a park board. They just didn't want to see this whole thing be concrete, and they wanted to green it. And so that stuff, I mean, Dan, I don't know if you got extra photos, but Dan's done a lot of work with this and some other designs that he's had, and
Yeah,
works
and
great.
Wilmette, we use this exact same product as the fire lane around the Malincrod seminary building that they turned into condos. And after 2 years, they had to put markers along it because they couldn't see where the fire lane was, because the grass, it's a deep plastic webbing that is set over heavy grade stone and geotextile fabric underneath. And it's great at growing grass. It's not what some people think of, those concrete blocks with the little tiny squares. Not that.
How does that material, and this is for my own personal information, how does that material handle small point loads, like thin, like, for instance, a table leg or a chair leg or something? How does it need bigger feet to sit on top of that?
Actually, no, it would be just like the lawn out here in between all the cells, because you've actually got a sand mix and the topsoil on top. Topsoil is only 3 inches, and then there's sand mixed with fines, and then the CA6, and then the geotextile fabric. So it's all compacted. It's firmer than the soil out here.
So it doesn't
Thought you were gonna
erode
ask about a
with,
high heel.
it doesn't erode with wind or, you know?
No, no,
do-
it literally will look just like the turf of this whole site.
Any other questions? I think that would conclude our presentation this evening. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come up and make a comment? No rush to the podium. So I believe that concludes the presentation and the public comment.
So, Mr. Chairman, there is a standing motion to approve. From our discussion here this evening, it sounds like there's a couple items in the packet of conditions of approval. It's the standard boilerplate one, which is compliance with all ordinances and standards of the village except as otherwise noted. And then this evening, I heard a second condition being added, which was to adjust the bathroom to the southeast with the sidewalk being located on the northwest side of the building.
So those being a condition of this approval this evening, our recommendation for approval is to approve, to amend the zoning classification from B1 general business to COS, conservation of open space for the property. And we are voting on preliminary and site plan approvals, subject to the conditions listed below. Those being compliance with all ordinance and standards of the village except for otherwise noted items. And those are, at this point in time, the shifting of the restroom facilities. Does anybody have any other further comment? Okay.
You need a motion.
We need a motion for approval.
Well, you would,
So you're making the motion.
I don't know if I can.
You have a standing motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
all right. Commissioner Baloo,
Abstain.
Commissioner Cotton, Commissioner Hesner,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner, Commissioner Morcone,
Yes.
Commissioner Grog. Chairman Morse. Motion passed.
Looks like we have a motion that passed. Congratulations, gentlemen.
This will appear at the July 17th Village Board meeting under the Committee of the Whole. That's next week, Tuesday. We'll do it all again. And if there's any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me directly. If the next week, Tuesday, doesn't work for any reason, the following board meeting is August 14th. So it's, we only have one meeting in August, so that's a little bit of a different schedule. After the Committee of the Whole, I know we'll certainly be accommodating for allowance of issuing the permits and reviewing the permits, so.
Thank you very much.
Related to development items, we have a number of items that are kind of a little bit in limbo, I guess is probably the best way to describe it.
Do we want to cover past meeting minutes?
Oh, yeah, do that first. We have 1 minute, meeting minutes, approval of the April 25th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes.
Does anybody have comments on that set of minutes? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
If we could vote all in acclamation to support.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
So other item, so we had a concept presentation for the redevelopment of the old AMC movie theater. It would be proposed to be a day spa. And they also want to subdivide the property to allow a daycare facility there called the Gardner School, which they have a location in Lincolnshire. We're still waiting for technical review for that item. Another item was a Dunkin' Donuts adjacent to the McAllisters. We're waiting for technical review on that one as well. Our understanding is that Dunkin' Donuts is still determining if it's economically feasible for them to invest in that redevelopment, because part of that would be shifting the Phillip Road access where its current location is adjacent to the Victory Center and moving it to more align itself with the existing roadways. So traffic isn't driving by the Victory Center.
They would close the existing Dunkin' Donuts?
I think that would be the thought.
Yeah, because someplace that would give them drive-through would be to their advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other item, a Raising Cane chicken tender restaurant is interested in going to the former PNC Bank building on Deer Path and Phillip. Apparently, they're extremely popular in some parts of the U.S. There's varying degrees of enthusiasm by the residents in Deer Path, as well as concerns about increasing traffic onto Phillip Road adjacent to Deer Path. But we're still waiting for technical review plans for that. This coming board meeting, we have a concept presentation for a Panda Express drive-through adjacent to the Hobby Lobby. It would be they would create an outlot to the south of the Hobby Lobby, east of the Entrance Magazine, to the Hawthorne Village Commons Shopping Center.
So it would be just drive-through, or would it be a restaurant with
Yes.
drive-through? Okay.
Restaurant with drive-through. Panda Express has currently 2 locations, one in the mall and one up in Greg's Landing. It's our understanding that they plan to close the one in Greg's Landing, and there's right now looking at different site locations, one of which being Hawthorne Village Commons and another being a location in Libertyville. But they're moving towards a drive-through concept. We're also waiting for technical review plans for a Goddard School expansion. They were looking to expand to the American Charter Bank building immediately to the north. Goddard School is next to is in the Aspen Point subdivision, and they would actually create a connection between the 2 buildings, as well as creating some space between. When American Charter closed, we think they were sold because the current owner is Cy Taxman, and that's who Goddard School is now negotiating with related to that developing that property. Other conversations that we have right now ongoing are Mariano's is interested in putting in a fueling station. This should be kind of consistent with like Costco and how their fueling station will work. Not as large, but they're looking to have something like that where no convenience store. It would just be fueling station with maybe an attendant. And that would be located on the northernmost parking lot of the Mariano's. So the existing parking lot, which right now is utilized by employee parking, they would want to utilize for the fueling station.
Really? Not the one to the east, the one to the north that's just staff?
Yes,
And then where would staff park?
great question.
Where?
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, see, it is, I know that's where the employees park, but that's where people can park too, and that's where they have their quick click or something, where
Yeah.
you can drive and pick up whatever you wanted. We all know that store has had parking issues before they expanded the parking.
Yeah.
So
when
that will be a challenge for them to,
I don't think anybody uses the new parking to the east.
The one on the other side of the
Main
access
parking?
drive?
Yeah.
Or the access drive that goes through the parking lot?
yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cars in there.
Maybe employees can park there.
I have to believe a fueling station north of that building is going to be an issue with Greg's Landing.
I would suspect that as well. I know there's been longstanding feeling that there's kind of a fuel desert in that area, and so there is a feeling that a gas station would be successful, but certainly the location raises some questions, in particular about lighting. I think that would be the largest question. Would be how do you need to have recessed lights. You need to make sure that you take a close eye on glare, hours of operation, in the wintertime especially.
Would this be Mariano's first gas station at a location? I don't know of any other one where they have one.
I'm not sure. I know this is going through via Roundy's, and Roundy's may have other facilities, that,
Why is it going through Roundy's and with they're owned by Kroger?
I think they're all the same company now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Kroger bought Roundy's. I just thought they got rid of the Roundy's name.
I'm just, and I'm only talking because of Roundy's, because that's what it says in the email, but and they may be, it could be Roundy's Kroger or something, how that stuff works, but.
Whatever happened to the gas station at Sam's Club that came before us twice?
So what they've done with that is they came in for a permit, we reviewed it, we issued it to them, they never picked it up, they had a year to pick it up, we advised them of that, and we have something in our municipal code that says if you pay 20% of the cost of the permit, you can essentially extend that permit an additional year. So they wrote about I think it was a $20,000 or $30,000 check to keep the permit active.
Holy cow.
And our understanding is they may actually be moving forward with it now.
I was just curious.
Otherwise, we also are looking at, let's see, any other daycares? John Schottish from Kensington Development, he did the Aldi site. He's looking at one of the outlots next to Mariano's for a potential daycare. Essentially, there's only really there's two lots east of the Mariano's. So it's lots 9 and 10. Or 10 essentially is right at the curve if you're going north, northbound around the outside of the perimeter of the Mariano's parking. He hasn't given us really any indication of timeline. I know from what he said, and I know I shared this with Jeff Fougeroux of what they were looking at, is that the cost for that particular daycare would be $24,000 a year. But that's obviously something we'll have to take a hard look at. We've seen a lot of conversations or calls about daycares in recent years, and we're trying to take a hard look at that.
So Goddard, the one adjacent to or the one associated with the movie theater site, and now this one,
Yes.
in addition to Park District and other facilities in town.
Kinder, CAW, there's a lot of them.
Christ Lutheran.
Yes.
It's too many.
That's just quite a few.
Well, especially with Goddard expanding, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely has to be a question of need, and that's something that, it is a special use in a lot of these cases. And so that's something that, there's going to be valid questions about, is this the highest and best use of the property? And, what are the expectations? And I think those are all valid questions and concerns, looking at the site locations and are those the best areas to.
How does someone go about, validating need for something like that? How do they do that? Is it like,
Well, you'd think if they're going to spend the money, especially for Greg's Landing, they've got to have an analysis that they're going to understand what the capacity would be. Meaning
I
what
guess
they're,
that's the whole point. What would that analysis be? How would that analysis be established?
yeah.
I would assume that they would look at, there's a lot of search firms out there that do demographic studies. And if you're looking at age populations and you say, okay, there's X number of kids between 0 and 4, they got to be going somewhere. And if they feel like there's a demand.
When you look at the expansion of the Pulte development by the Cuneo estate and then the addition of the apartments by Melody Farms, which they may have families starting out there, maybe that's where they feel some of the need is going to come from.
It could be. I mean, I know with Melody Farms, they've got 30 leases, and I believe none of them have kids. And
I wouldn't expect a lot, but you never, I mean, maybe starting out, but yeah, I wouldn't.
And even with Cuneo, I mean, of the permits that we've come in, I think we've got 11 now, maybe more than that at this point. But I know at least, I think 5 of them are 2 bedrooms. And so they're really nice homes for, just 2 bedrooms. I mean, and
Are those the ranches?
Yeah, and maybe the people that are downsizing, the empty nesters, want to stay someplace nice and, yeah.
Well, that was the market that we
Present-
talked about, that wasn't available in Vernon Hills, one of
Yeah.
the few different markets that wasn't available.
Just, so you know, none of the daycare facilities existing in Vernon Hills right now are at capacity.
Really?
None of them,
Not even Goddard?
not even Goddard.
Well, the one with the theater, the kids can go to the day spa.
I guess.
So that, they can get little facials.
And one of the questions I think we're probably gonna do as part of this once, I mean, none of these, any that we've talked about have submitted for technical review. So a lot of it's just, they've gone through the concept review stage or are about to, and we're just waiting for them to submit. Once they submit, we're gonna start doing, some polling of the area daycare centers and say, where are you at? Where are you at capacity? And, just, and let them all know, hey, here's what's going on, because I imagine there'll be a great many of them that will all be attending meetings to voice their concerns about an increase in daycares. I know the other big outstanding development is with the mall. Basically, you're looking at Barnes and Noble, Carson's, and Sears all leaving that location, and that leaving a pretty large amount of the mall that's, up in the air. We've had a lot of conversations with them with Centennial, about what they want to do. The fact that they've made a step towards, they have purchased the Sears. I believe they're making efforts to purchase the Carsons.
Really?
They're certainly trying to take complete ownership of the property to see what they could do. I fully anticipate that any development that takes place there will involve the demolition of Sears, incorporating outlots onto the site, and some sort of residential component. I know,
It's good to hear that they're actually buying those rather than have them sit empty and get split into Halloween stores and things like that. So that,
Bull Golf was gonna be full 6,000-yard course. Bull Golf.
and indoor go-karting, just for measure.
so,
And so we're waiting to hear back from them on how they move forward with that. So we'll see how that happens. I know right now the ribbon cutting for Melody Farm is expected to take place in early October. I'll make sure the commission members are all invited to that. It's
And where, when?
early October. I think it's on Friday.
I'm looking forward to that intersection being redesigned. I think that hopefully it's going to turn out like they showed us, because it's going to be a great improvement for that intersection.
I'm really looking forward to how that elevation facing Milwaukee is going to actually turn out. Because right now, it looks like the back of buildings.
Right?
And think of all the detail we had them add.
Well, they haven't added it yet.
Yeah, they did.
We're waiting.
I will say I
Evergreens.
walked the site yesterday, and the detail work that they are putting in, I mean, it looks pretty good for, at least from a non-trained
it's-
eye.
It's
they-
very cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
The-
from the,
the brick colors.
internal, there's lots of great architectural elements in there.
So-
Really looks good.
The big question I get all the time is, what are the restaurants that are going in there? Do you have an idea?
I do. I could, it's probably better if I just emailed it to you all,
That'd be great.
because there's a
That'd be
lot
great,
of
because
restaurants.
that's the, people don't even want to know the stores. They always
If-
ask me, what restaurants are going in
Because
there?
that would be,
A lot.
if we had some good restaurants in there, I mean, not fast food or quick food, but that would be wonderful.
So I know, there's a restaurant called Be Good. There's a restaurant, City Barbecue is gonna be there. They're gonna actually have smokers, located outside the site. Kuma's is coming in.
Kuma's Corner?
I know they're really close to signing a lease with Shake Shack, which they've got a location downtown and are pretty good. Lazy Dog, which I think everyone's aware of, is gonna be taking over one of the outlots. City Works, which has a location in Minneapolis, is gonna be taking over a location. There's a place, and I forget it's like more of a vegetarian, organic place that's gonna be coming in as well. That I would need to just verify the name of it. But there's a number of,
You know that,
OT is gonna be there,
that central island? There were a couple restaurants planned for that one. Which of the larger restaurants are planned for those? Do you know?
not off the top of my head. I think they're planning on splitting some of those for like a donut place or, ice cream. I know they seem, I mean, the names that they've brought up to me, with the exception of Roti and, I've kind of had to look up to say, okay, where are they? Because
It would be nice if we could get a Let Us Entertain You restaurant or something, meaning,
As an anchor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they seem to just have the right recipe when they open
There's a reason
restaurants.
for it.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a place in Naperville, I think it's called Buttermilk, like a breakfast place they're looking at,
Oh,
potentially coming in.
that would actually be good, because Walker Brothers does good in Lincolnshire, and the Door County, whatever it's called, I can't remember.
Oh, and
Egg Harbor, Door County, same
And
thing.
north end of Libertyville, that one down there.
Oh,
does a very-
Wildberry, oh my God, they do a booming business.
Friday.
They've got one in Schaumburg, too.
Just look at
I don't-
Ellie's and even the new place on 45
Yeah.
is packed all the time.
That new place on 45 is packed, and they have to park on the grass, the people that work there, and when it's raining, I'm like, oh my God, I can see them wading through the mud. And now they have outdoor seating in the summer, so which I'm glad to see they're doing good. That's-
Really, really glad to see they're doing
Yeah,
it.
that's nice to see them be successful.
That's, that's what we got going on.
What's going in where Mike and whoever, the burger place by Starbucks? What?
Not sure yet.
There's a sign up that.
Fried egg.
Fried egg.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is that
That's right.
and I'm assuming, is that a breakfast place? Okay. Huh.
Only
That's-
dinner.
What?
It's only dinner.
What? You like my English? So,
It's called Brenner.
By where?
For dinner.
remember the burger
Tom and
place?
Eddie's.
Tom and Eddie's?
Tom and Eddie's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Across from Beer Depot or
Yeah, I know.
Beer Garden or whatever.
And then Philly G's, I know right now the plan is to demo and put down grass and then and market it.
So that would be Beer Head is where it is near.
What were they?
Gilardi's was such a good restaurant when Grandma was there, and
Okay, so, looks like we have reached the end of our meeting, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, well done. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Storrow's up there going, are they going to talk about restaurants?